Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. Ipswich 1, Manchester United 1. A frustrating start for Ruben Amorim, his first game as the new United manager. This is a live review. Joining me as always is Mr. Joe Smith. Get involved in the chat and the comments and hit that like button. Let us know what you think of the game. You might not like the game, but you can like this video. Joe,
yeah.
It all started off so well. 90 seconds, less than 90 seconds. We get a goal. Marcus Rashford, his second Premier League goal this season. Nice bit of counter-attacking football. I mean, it felt like, yeah, we're up and running now. This is going to be it. And then the next sort of 89 minutes was kind of similar to what we've seen far too often from United this season. It wasn't all bad, but there was a lot of frustrating moments. The final third passes just weren't quite where they needed to be. Didn't create enough chances, and obviously let Ipswich back into the game. And before I get your thoughts as well, I have to sort of point out, if it wasn't for Onana, we'd be sat here a lot more frustrated than we are, because he pulled off 2 absolute worldly saves from point-blank range. But yeah, it just sort of highlighted the job Ruben Amorim has got, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I think the Onana point is a good one to start with, because it shows what happens when you've got real quality in areas. Onana essentially stopped them scoring and winning the game today. And in the other end of the pitch, we didn't have the quality to score and win the game. Like, Onana did his job, did some individual things that were absolutely excellent, and basically everyone else on the pitch, except I thought Ahmad was good, I thought Ugarte had some decent moments, Bruno had a couple of decent moments, but no one else particularly shone today at all. Too often, this same sort of familiar patterns that we saw under Ten Hag were there again, where, you know, the runs off the ball, they either aren't there or they can't be found because whoever's trying to play the ball can't make the pass accurately enough. When we do get chances to counter-attack, either, you know, we try something that isn't on, or we sort of delay and we get tackled and lose the ball. It happened to Rashford, it happened to Garnacho, it happened multiple times in the game. When we do have a chance to break in behind, we're either too busy fighting the centre-back, or we're we're turning the wrong way, or we're playing it under each other's feet, or we're playing it behind each other. Like, it was just a lack of quality from the players. I think that's the thing that we want to pretend isn't a thing. People want to hope, and it makes it easier to hope that changing the manager can make players 50% better. You can't. You cannot make players 50% better with a new manager. You can make them 5% better, 10% better with a new manager. But, you know, you're never going to make players who aren't world-class players world-class, especially not overnight. And I think that's why it looked quite a familiar scene. You know, all the mistakes I've just described, we've seen them all season. These are players who maybe aren't top players anyway, playing at the sort of the bottom of their confidence, and a week with a new manager is not going to turn all that around. So, you know, unfortunately, I'm not hugely surprised by what we've seen, but that doesn't mean I'm down on the manager or even down on all these players. There's a long way to go, and I'm sure we can turn it around, but it was kind of what we'd been seeing all season, wasn't it?
It was, and just on that front, we're talking about the final third, the passing accuracy from United in the final third, which was only 70%, which is a frustrating afternoon, really, innit? You've got to be a lot better than that in the final third if you're going to get anything from it. A few comments and I'll come back to you. It's all gravy. Welcome to the Academy. Good to see you joining. Extra content over on the members section. Akash K says, do these players know the meaning behind controlling a game of football? I wish Amorim all the luck in the world. I think he's going to need it. Ross Murphy says, same old with any manager that comes into United. It's time to start getting tough on some of the players. We are playing like a mid-table team. Joseph Tomlin says, I don't think Casemiro and Eriksen had the athleticism necessary to play in a two-man midfield as effectively 2 box-to-box number 8s. Mainu Ugarte completely transformed the application of Amorim's, I think it's meant to say Amorim's style, Amorim's football or whatever. Notch is in the chat. Santa Notch says, until we have players who don't just play for the wage packet, not much will change. Look how our Oppo out-energised us once again.
They outran us again, which I think they ran 108 kilometres, we ran 102 as a team. And you're going to run a little bit more. We had more possession, especially in the second half. I think we had something like 70% possession. So they're going to be doing more of the running. We're letting the ball do the running for us to a certain degree. But we get outran all the time. And he mentioned it himself. Amorim said, we aren't fit enough. We don't run enough. The numbers, the sort of the bare stats they just are what they are. We get outworked by our opposition most weeks. And I think that the disposition of a lot of our squad is, if they run past me, that's all right. He'll get that, or I'll guide him into this area and then he'll sort it for me. When it needs to be, if I'm shoulder to shoulder with their man, I'm going to get the ball off him. Even if it means me not, running out of my favoured position, I'm going to win that ball back. And we don't really have that. And hopefully he can teach them that. And if you can't teach them that, you can get players in who don't need it teaching to them. But I just think it wasn't a disaster today. They had a couple of good chances that Onana fantastically saved. That one in particular in the first half for Delap's shot was phenomenal. His positioning was perfect. He got down, made himself big, and saved a chance that most of the time goes in. He was exceptional. But I just think that it's going to take a little bit of time to build this back up. But this isn't a disaster today. We didn't lose. We didn't get battered. It was an even game between a team that's struggling and a team that's struggling. I'm not particularly surprised. No,
we're hearing from Ruben Amorim at the minute, so we'll get some quotes from that and go through them. Mayor Amateur, who's been a member for 20 months of the first team, says the sooner we realise that Ahmad is our best player and we need him close into the opponent goal, the sooner we actually start being effective attack-wise. Also, some people just sort of losing their heads. John Bamford says, Mainu and Ugarte don't have enough legs and mobility either. One thing I just want to point out as well, which it might sound slightly trivial, but I do think it's good to see. And we saw at the end of the game there, and Nathan Salt, who's been on the channel, has just tweeted a little clip of it. Amorim getting everyone, all the players together, going over to the away fans. And this is the one thing these players have got to realise as well. I mean, that will go down very well with fans, and all the fans already love Amorim, and I think, we understand why he's got the job, and we're buying into what he's trying to do, and we like the way he carries himself. If these players don't perform for this manager, the fans won't be turning on the manager. It'll be the players that are getting looked at, I think, by and large. Because there's a lot of players already in this, in this team who have fallen out of favour. They really have. And you see it a lot when you go to the games. There's people on the cases. You look at certain players and people going, he's not turning up, not good enough. Now, with some of them, you could have gone, well, Eric Ten Hag brought him in. He brought this, Anthony's always been a stick that's been to beat him for. Even this season, we've seen it with the likes of Xerxes and players like that. But I think the players are going to get more stick under a new manager than they would have under Eric Ten Hag, because he's just come in, people trying to get behind him. And if you're seeing the same players that got us into the bottom half of the table not performing for yet another manager, it's not going to be easy for him. I don't think it's going to be like it was under Ralph Ragnick, where it's like, he's gone soon anyway, we'll get away with it. I think this is going to be different, and I think Ineos are more likely to back him than they would with Eric Ten Hag, and I think the fans are going to be more likely to get behind him than they would have with Eric Ten Hag as well, because this is a manager that's coming in yet again and trying to change something.
That only lasts until he's brought in his own players, though. That's the thing.
That's why I said these players. That's what I mean. These players now, I'm not talking about the next lot. These players you've got now, they have to perform, because you were saying then, some of them might not be good enough or not performing or whatever. Yeah. If they don't perform for him, I don't think the fans are going to be supportive of him and blame him. Yeah. I think, and I get your point, if he brings in his own men, then obviously.
But that's the thing, but now is when he has to be ruthless then, because for now, you're right, in that he has got the support of the fans over the players.
Yeah.
People back the manager more than the players for now. But in 2 years' time, when he's had a couple of transfer windows and maybe a signing or two that didn't work out, then it drifts and then the manager gets sacked. But that's the thing. If he wants to be ruthless and he wants to go through this squad and get rid of players that aren't going to work for him, he has to do it this summer or this winter, because otherwise, eventually it'll go, well, these are his players. He's been here long enough. So I think, he's got a big job on his hands. But we knew that. We knew he had a big job on his hands. And this isn't a disaster anyway. It's a 1-1 draw away.
Do you want to read some of them quotes you've got there, bro?
So talking after the game, Amorim, I think is this with this chat with Roy Keane and those people now? Yeah.
Thank you.
Amorim said, I think my players were thinking too much during the game. I could feel it just 2 days with the full squad. You could feel it to a certain degree. He said, you have to control the ball after scoring so early, control the tempo of the game. We cannot do it at the moment, but they really tried. And they want this. He's backing his players there, and he's sort of giving them a little bit of credit, saying that they tried to do the right things. But controlling the ball is a big thing. We managed it second half, but we couldn't do it until they got their equaliser. Whilst Ipswich had this sort of impetus to go and score, we couldn't really stop them. They didn't control the game either, but we couldn't stop them having the same amount of possession as us, could we? We couldn't control it.
No, we couldn't. And that is frustrating. And he says it, Amorim said, he's also said, my players were thinking too much in the game. You could feel it. So I get that. Yeah. And I don't know if you said it. It's a tough match. We lost some balls without pressure.
No, we haven't.
You have to control the ball and the tempo of the game. Yeah. They didn't do it, but they really tried. They are really trying, and they want this. So he's sticking up for his players, which you'd expect him to be honest with you. I mean, you can't tell too much from a game against Ipswich, where you have had a bit of a makeshift team as well. I don't expect Christian Eriksen and Casemiro to be starting every game under Ruben Amorim at all. I think this is because of players coming back from injury, players coming back from internationals. We know that. I think Kobe Mainoo's still not 100%, otherwise he would have probably featured. Ugarte, I think, had one training session, did he say?
Yeah.
So he wasn't someone who was probably ready to start. I think we will see a different team moving forward, but there's still a couple of signs here. We've got some more quotes there.
Yeah, we've got
from Roy Keane.
a couple of bits from Roy Keane. He said, "We saw the shape of the team, but it's the same players and the same problems. We talk about leopards and spots, lack of goals and lack of quality in the second half. Ipswich looked the better team." He also said that it's Amorim's first game, a lot to take in, and it's been a mental week for him. But ultimately, he will be disappointed. It is his first game, and it's going to take a bit of time to learn a new system, because this isn't like a... You know, when Solskjaer came in, there was that real sense of relief after Jose Mourinho. And he was the interim manager. He had that Van Nistelrooy, let's just go out there and sort of break free of the shackles of Jose, which everyone had become completely poisoned by. Amorim doesn't have that. We just played for a manager for the last 4 games who, let us be a bit more free and, got a bit of the fun back. Now you've got to come in and improve from there, which is a little bit harder. But it's the first game. And like I said, it's not a loss. We're not that great. There's a long way to go this season. And once the players have to, don't have to think about every action as they're doing it, once it becomes sort of unconscious almost, and you just are the system rather than having to sort of plan the system as you're doing it, then we'll get better results, and hopefully we can mitigate some of the lacking quality that we have in the squad, because we're not going to change that. We can't make players better than they are, but the system and the tactics can hopefully minimise how much that affects you week in, week out.
Yeah, I agree. Mohamed Abbas says it'll take time. Love from a Chelsea fan. Oh, yeah, thank you. Christos Josie says Delo looked awful on the left. Apnabadu King Eric says we really need to replace old slow legs, otherwise we will always look weak.
Who's old slow legs? Is that some prospector from the early Americas?
Old slow legs.
Old slow legs.
He's got some gold. We've got a few more quotes here. It says everyone talks, this is from Amorim, everybody talks about the 3-4-3, that is not a concern. The system is the system, but the understanding of the game, I think we have to improve. Also as well, he says Xerxes has to understand to enter the box to help the crosses. So, I mean, he's saying a lot of things what we kind of know, don't we expect. Yeah. But it is obviously very, very early days. It is frustrating, but I don't think we can get too carried away. We can't read too much into it. That's my personal opinion. You may disagree. By all means, get involved in the chat and the comments. Looking forward, just quickly, we've got, is it Bodo Glimt on Thursday? That mouth-watering clash. Do you think you use that to try and implement your system in your first team, or do you think you mix it up because it's the Europa? What do you think he's going to do for that one? Because this was a little bit makeshift in some of the personnel. I don't think Johnny Evans, Christian Eriksen and Casemiro probably going to start most games. I might be wrong. Do you think going into that you go, okay, if I've got everyone fit, I play my strongest team, or do you think again it's like sort of horses for courses?
I think it'll work sort of perfectly for him, because some of the people who he will probably want in his first team weren't ready today. So he can almost play them as, like, he can give Mainoo minutes and Mount minutes and maybe even Luke Shaw a few more minutes, or Malacius, and you know what I mean? Like, he'll almost be forced, if he's rotating, to rotate into his first 11. Højlund didn't start today. We'll see how he gets on. Will we see differences in the sort of wing positions as well? I would just play the strongest team you can. Start winning some games, because I'm not saying this will happen, but it's not impossible that he doesn't win one of his first 6 and then people do start.
No, I get that.
Like, he needs to. It shouldn't happen, and I don't think it will. But do get a win relatively early on. Like, start by winning against Bodo Glimt. That's a little bit of confidence in the back pocket.
It's like, do you remember the Liverpool game under Eric Ten Hag?
Yeah.
Like, the first win under him.
Yeah.
I honestly thought if he'd have lost that, he'd have been in deep shit.
It can happen.
Like, because he'd have lost his first 2 and then to lose to Liverpool at home as after a 4-0 loss away at Brentford. I honestly think that game was pivotal for him, because it would have been like, actually, we might have debored it here. We might have made a big mistake. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not saying that's going to happen, be melodramatic, but I get it. You want to get a win in it at home as well, and everyone's happy, and it can just move on from this nonsense. Question, says Maya Amateur. We complain about the players cannot pass the ball, yet weirdly enough, we optimise transfers for intensity. Is this something Amorim should look at, especially when most teams low block against us?
I don't know if we have optimised for intensity.
Yeah.
I don't. When I look at our most recent signings, or maybe not the most recent, but the sort of last 2 or 3 years, I don't see intensity as the first name on that list. I think Eriksen hasn't been like that. Casemiro isn't. Who have we signed in the summer even? De Ligt is a little bit, but he's not particularly athletic, is he? He's got a lot else to his game, but I think we do need a bit more in terms of athleticism in the team, and then quality as well. You need to have both. It can't just be one or the other.
Just a couple more quotes before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Amorim, yes, we are doing some things not in the right moment. The understanding of the game, we have to improve a lot in this area. Also, he says we have 2 options. We just try to win games and don't risk anything. And I guarantee at this stage next year, we would have the same problems. We will have problems. The players will be confused sometimes, but we have to address the new idea and try to be better for this stage next year. And he also says, this week, I spoke more to the media than I did in 4 years at Sporting. I just want to work with my players. Nothing more. Well,
I just want a
get
quiet
used to
life.
that.
That's
Yeah.
why I went to the biggest football club in the world.
Yeah, don't worry. There's lots more media to come.
Yeah.
Also, Robert Brown, thank you for your super chat. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Don't forget, if you're not doing already, to subscribe to the channel.
We'll be all right, Jay.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I do. I think
if you think we'll be all right,
it's good.
I'm confident because
We'll be all right.
You never say that. So
No.
it's about time you were positive for once. Make sure you are checking out the other videos on the channel as well. We're going to be hearing from Andy Tate. We're going to be hearing from Stephen Houghton. We're going to have loads of reaction for you. So don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. That's been Joe Smith. I'm Jay Motti. This has been a review. Manchester United drawing away at Ipswich. Thanks for watching.